This is the new 2024 Volvo XC40. The model we have here is a single motor extended range. In this video, we're gonna check out all the features, take it for a drive, and then we're gonna hit our off-road course because it's got an off-road mode. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV. Just recently, we tested the new Volvo XC40. It's a great little all-electric dual-motor car with solid off-road performance. What we have here might look a little bit more crossover-y, but the fact is this one only has a single motor, which means it's rear-wheel drive only. It is equipped with an extended range battery pack, which does give the XC40 here an EPA-rated range of 293 miles. In a vacuum, all these things are good, right? But as it sits here, this looks more like a crossover, but it's less capable. You can get the XC40 here with dual motors and all-wheel drive, but that is not what Volvo sent us. So let's go ahead and dig in and see what we got. The XC40 Recharge is a battery electric compact crossover. In this single motor configuration, it produces a peak 248 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque to the rear wheels. The extended battery pack on this tester is an 82 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion unit. DC fast charge can bring the battery from 10 to 80% charge in a reasonable 28 minutes. In the back, you get 16 cubic feet of cargo area with the second row in place. Fold the second row flat and you get 57.5 cubic feet of total cargo space overall. You also get a very flat floor. You get this handy flip-up lid, which gives you access to ice scraper, as well as the jack if you need that. And up here you get little handy hooks for hanging grocery bags, which is nice. Can you camp in it? Yep, it is a perfectly flat floor. I'm 6'1" and I actually fit back here if I huddle up. Not bad for such a small vehicle. Because this is an Ultimate, it comes loaded with a panorama sunroof, Harman Kardon premium sound, a heat pump to keep the battery at optimal temperature, a full 360 view in the central touchscreen, park assist, headlight cleaners, and adaptive cruise control. The wheels here are 20-inch alloys wrapped in all-season radials. Price as you see it here, $59,995 US, including destination. Of course, this is a compact, so you can't expect too much from the second row. But this really isn't bad. This is where I would be seated if I were driving. I'm 6'1", legs torso proportionate. I got lots of room for my knees, for my head. This is actually really good. Down here I get vents, which you don't get in all compact cars, and I even get seat warmers plus 2 USB-C sockets. In the middle, I get a fold-down armrest. Moving up front, yep, we get a cabin that is modern Volvo. This is a look that they have across most of their cars now, and it's really nice. It's simple, it's sophisticated, can be a little confusing at times, but once you kind of spend some time in it, it's actually not too bad. Let's go ahead and start it up. Oh wait, that's right. As soon as I sit in the car, it starts up. And then if I want to drive, I just put it into drive using this fancy crystal transmission selector. Even though it's very simple, it's actually not difficult to understand what's going on here. Most of the controls are in the infotainment screen, but we do get some physical knobs and buttons right below it for controlling flashers, as well as defrost and audio settings. Over here, we have kind of this relief map, and this actually illuminates at night, which is kind of cool. The seats, you might notice, they are not leather, and they are not pleather. They are actually wool. This is an alternative covering you can get in here. It's considered the vegan-friendly one. Gauge cluster is a digital setup, and we can toggle through a few options, but you don't get a ton of configuration there. Over here, we do get this touchscreen, and this is running a lot of Google stuff. Actually, you have Google profiles integrated with it. The maps are Google. The podcast app is Google. Google Assistant's there. Play Store's there. What I'm trying to say is this is basically an Android interface that also has some car stuff, but it is deeply integrated with the vehicle. You have controls over your steering wheel as well as seat warmers, climate profiles, charging limits, and then you can also dive into driving, and this is the most important screen. Here we can go between standard and off-road drive modes. Yes, this is a two-wheel drive vehicle, but yes, it still has an off-road mode, and we are going to test that later because that's what we do. We have pilot assist, which is of course the cruise control function that they have here. Toggling that off means that you don't have to use the radar in front. We have lane keep assist, road sign info, and then there is one pedal drive. Some electric cars do offer a one pedal drive option, and that's where you're literally using the gas pedal both for acceleration as well as braking. When you lift off, it comes to a complete stop. With this vehicle, you have a few settings. You have on or off for one pedal, but you can also do auto, in which case it'll do it depending on how you're driving. And then you can also firm up your steering wheel if you prefer more of a sporty feel. The sound system here is Harman Kardon. It's a very nice setup. And of course, we do have integration with Android Auto as well as Apple devices. Unfortunately, even though we do get a charging pad down here, it is not wireless. It is a wired connection. But USB-C is at least the interface. So it's modern in that respect. I don't know why here in 2024 they still don't have wireless, but at least it uses USB-C. We're here at our Peninsula Proving Grounds. We're going to go take this out onto the street to see how it drives, and then we're going to come back here and we're going to put its off-road mode to the test on our easy course. So here we are, finally behind the wheel of the 2024 Volvo XC40 Recharge single motor ultimate extended range. That's a long name. But it tells you exactly what we have here. This is a single motor rear wheel drive electric car, and it's got plenty of kick. It's not a small motor back there. You're looking at 248 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. That is good by any measure. The fact that it's also rear-wheel drive makes this car surprisingly fun to drive. Would I have ever considered a rear-wheel drive electric? Probably not, because I'm kind of an all-wheel drive guy. But, you know, this is fun. If I just needed an around-town electric car, I have absolutely no problems with this one. Let's go ahead and just stop and do a complete full throttle and see how quick this thing goes. So, we're at a complete stop. Just floor it, and it's a little slow off the line, but then it picks up, and then we are all the way to 60. You know, pretty quick. That's probably about mid 5 seconds. You don't really need anything faster for day to day. And this is plenty of punch, that's for sure. Now with the extended range battery, you do get nearly 300 miles of range, which is really neat. However, that is also with an asterisk. There's a lot of asterisks with this car. And that is if you want to have any fan on at all, like say we want to, our windshield is fogging up, or it's getting a little foggy over here and we need to clear that. Well, you need to turn a fan on. To do that, you hit the fan button and your range drops 30 miles. Now that is not just an issue with this car, that's just an issue with electric cars in general. Now, typically, people will say, well, if it's cold out, just use your electric seat warmers. You know what? That doesn't help clear the windows. And if you live in a place like the Pacific Northwest where it's wet all the time, yeah, you're using your fans 24/7. You just are. Turn the fan off, it's going to start building up condensation. So right off the top, you can take that extended range and just cut 30 miles right off of it. So you're looking at, instead of 293, you're looking at 263 most likely. And that is also assuming that you're driving really normally, you know, just around town, not doing many full throttle accelerations, which is not something that I don't really drive calmly, I guess you could say. And then on top of that, it's also assuming that it's warm out. Now this does have a heat pump, which is good, but if you don't pre-prep the vehicle in advance, you're gonna lose mileage. I don't have the app connected up to this. I have no way of setting up that kind of stuff. I don't leave on a prescribed schedule. I just get in the vehicle and I go. So in this case, I can't pre-prep the electric motors because I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I don't get into my car at a specific time. I just get into it and I go. So in that case, the preconditioning doesn't quite help me as much as it might be somebody who, does a normal commute. So my mileage is not going to be quite as optimal as the next guy's. So ultimately what you're looking at is still very good range. And with these issues, they're not just unique to the Volvo, they're pretty much common across all electric vehicles. But this electric vehicle does have one thing that I really, really dislike that honestly would make things easier for me, and that's the ability to actually have a power on, power off button. Now the Volkswagen ID.4 does the same thing. It powers on when you sit in the seat, it powers off when you get out of it. My issue with that is sometimes I'm working around the vehicle on a remote site and I want to turn the music on and I want to listen to the music. Well, you can't do that because there's no way to keep the vehicle going when you're not sitting in it. Also, let's just say I'm getting out in the morning, I'm getting stuff loaded into the car, but I want the battery to precondition, but I haven't preset it with a schedule to do that. Well, without futzing around in the infotainment system, I would rather just hit a button and let it kind of warm up for 20 minutes while I'm loading the car. Can't do that. It's just like, just give me a power button, please. I don't ask too much. I don't love virtualization of a lot of the buttons, but they do a good job of not virtualizing everything here. But for the love of God, just give me a power button. Don't take that away from me. Okay, well that said, I do really like this XC40 because the motors are great. It drives really nice. Even coming in hot around this corner, the suspension is very well tuned for pretty much any condition. Narrow bridge, no problem. It soaks up the bumps on the bridge. It's a compact crossover, so it feels very comfortable even in twisty roads. I mean, it just drives so nice. And of course you have excellent visibility, and you also of course have all the safety stuff that you would expect. We have collision mitigation that detects both pedestrians and cyclists. We have blind spot warning with a really nice little illumination in the glass. Rear cross traffic alert, we get the 360 surround view camera. This vehicle is fully loaded, and because it's the Ultimate, it also has adaptive cruise control with lane detection and tracing. So once we are turning on the adaptive cruise control, we can pick one of two methods, either just standard follow, where it won't overdrive the vehicle in front of us. It'll basically pace the vehicle. If we're driving faster than the vehicle in front of us, it'll slow us down. And there's also lane trace, which adds an extra layer on top of that. And you can just toggle it left and right with this button. Okay, we have an outside stripe now. Let's go ahead and try adaptive cruise. Set it to the target speed. Now we have lane centering. And how is it tracing? It's telling me to put my hands on the wheel. Of course, the lane centering feature and adaptive cruise isn't designed for hands-free in this vehicle. It is just designed for relieving stress on long trips. And I'm going to take my hands off the wheel just for a brief moment to see how well it's centering. It's doing a really good job. Okay, so it drives nice, it handles well. Let's try braking. Yep, brakes are good. And of course it has that one pedal driving if you're into that. Actually, let's go ahead and try the one pedal and just see what that feels like. Let's go to driving. Now, I gotta dig into the menu here. It's a lot of text to read. Scroll down. So with one pedal, now that it's enabled, I can go throttle with the gas pedal, and then when I want to slow down, I just take my foot off the gas pedal, and it's actually doing a ton of regen all the way down to a complete stop. And then when I want to go again, I just put the throttle on and I go. It is literally single pedal driving. Now you can't do emergency stops with that. Obviously, you still have the brake pedal. That still functions. That's what you use that for. Personally, I'm not a fan of one pedal. If you are looking for an electric car that does have one pedal, that'll be important to know that this has that. Boom, away we go. Yeah, nobody's going to complain about the speed on this thing. It's not as fast as obviously like a Model 3 Performance, but it's not supposed to be. I mean, it's a rear-wheel drive daily driver that you're just supposed to enjoy. So I do really like this vehicle. I enjoy the way it drives. I think it looks amazing. I like the gauge cluster, even though you really can't do much with it. It's just the over-reliance on the touchscreen, and then the touchscreen itself is not the most intuitive. I mean, you can figure it out because everything is written. The iconography is just, it clearly reads to me like they just bought an Android system and modified it to their liking. They didn't actually go all in with a fully custom system, and it shows. I mean, we get too many pages of just scrolling text, and that's not okay. I mean, one pedal driving, that should be 1-2 clicks at most. Changing drive modes, 1-2 clicks at most, probably one. Setting the steering wheel temperature and the seat temperature, luckily that is 2 clicks, although I would prefer 1. Yeah, you see where I'm getting here? It's just there's always like at least 1 click more than I feel like it needs. But I will say, if my wife wanted one of these, that would be fine. I would totally be cool buying one of these. I think the model I would probably gravitate towards, though, is the standard range dual motor. I just don't feel like you need that little extra bump in range in this type of car, because I would never use this type of a car for a long range vehicle. I would only want the extra range so you just don't have to charge it as often. Now, speaking of charging, Volvo has announced that they are going to support the NACS connection, which is the standard Tesla connector. So you should be able to charge at Tesla stations in the near future. So unfortunately, this vehicle still has the CCS connection. You'll have to use an adapter to use the NACS. And I'm just not a huge fan of adapters, especially on these cables, which are super heavy. It just doesn't seem like it's the best way of dealing with things. So right now we are in this weird transition stage between CCS and moving to NACS. Pretty much everybody has announced moving to the Tesla standard, and I think that actually is a good thing. I want everybody to be on one standard. I don't care what it was. And the fact is that Tesla has the best build out of charging stations. So that is a win for everybody. Because, oh man, how many times have I pulled up to an Electrify America station, plugged the charger in, thinking everything is hunky-dory, hit go, and nothing happens. Cannot connect to vehicle. All the time. And actually there's one of the chargers near where I live, it functions like that all the time. It never can connect to a vehicle. I've tried it with multiple vehicles. Never an error on the screen saying that there's a problem with that terminal. I've reported it multiple times to Electrify America. They act like a company that frankly doesn't care. So now that we had a chance to drive this on the street, I'm going to go ahead and do an off-road test with this because it's got 6.9 inches of ground clearance. It's got an off-road mode. Let's try it out. I know this is two-wheel drive. I'm still going to do it. This is, of course, our Peninsula Proving Ground where we have a number of courses. The course we're going to go on is our easy course that we call the Fun Forest. This has a climb in and then a little bit of left-rights to kind of shift power around the system. There's not much to do here other than to put it into off-road mode. What that should do is it should engage the wheel braking system to shift power left to right on that rear axle. Now there's no power to the front wheels in this vehicle, but that should be okay because most of this is climbing up, and in that case it's better to have power from the back. Yeah, that's basically it. Now we only have 6.9 inches of ground clearance on this thing, which isn't a lot. However, the Volkswagen Atlas got through this whole course without any rubbing, and it had about the same. So let's do it, see what we got. Let's start with this climb. Now we take it easy. Yes, we could just slam up this, but that's not testing the system out. Can it even get into the course? Doesn't seem to want to. Let's try this again. Let's go back a little bit. Kind of a hole did we dig. Okay, let's maybe a little more momentum here. Now the thing is, if it can't get up this climb, up, there we go. If it had that much trouble getting into the course, hopefully we can actually get through the course. Otherwise, yeah, I'm going to be finding tow points. Continuing on, I'm going to go into the ditch right before the deadwood. And this is going to lift a rear wheel, which is going to really rely on that brake vectoring more now that we only have one-wheel drive. Let's make sure we're actually in trail mode here because it doesn't seem like it is. We're back to standard. Let's go back to off-road here. Now what does it do? A little power shift there. Okay, get a little power shift. I mean, it's doing some wheel braking, it's just not a lot. Okay, so now we actually have the difficult part of the course. Let me step out and I'll show you what we got here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take traction off of a wheel because we're going to be shifting the vehicle left and then right, which will definitely lift up that passenger rear wheel. Now, at that point, it needs to use wheel braking to shift power from that wheel to the wheel that has grip, which then moves us through. If it has adequate power shift, it should get through this no problem. This is not a difficult trail. However, if the power shift is inadequate, we'll be stuck. And then I go to plan B. Okay, of course, I got out of the vehicle and it powered down. So let me check to see if we're still in off-road mode. Nope, it switched to standard. This is why I hate power off. So by removing the power switch today, I have hit so many more buttons to just reset things the way I wanted it. If they just had a power on, that would actually be less button pushing. But it's not. They don't have it. So I persevere and I push on. So I'm going to actually carry a little bit, well, I kind of want to carry some momentum through this just so that I'm not completely stuck. So let's kind of keep that throttle going. Oh. Come on, power. I'm just keeping the throttle in. Man, that is weak. That is doing nothing. So if I push the throttle myself, if I'm kind of on, off, I try to do on, off, and it just shut the system down on me. Propulsion system failure. Why do they have a trail mode if it doesn't actually function like a trail mode? If it provides no value. Wow, it's dead. Everything's shut down. Oh, we can go in reverse? Okay, we can go in reverse. Let's go back a little bit and charge it. Okay, brake, reverse, pull back. Now we'll try to use some more momentum. Oh man, I can't even get over that hump. Okay, I mean, I thought we'd have some issues here, but I didn't think it'd be this bad. There we go, momentum saves the day. Kind of. Oh, are you kidding me? Not enough momentum to get through. Okay, let's try that again, and forward. Come on! Okay, we got through. Final obstacle, we gotta go over this little rise, but we have gravity on our side. It's gonna grind. No, okay, good. So that's the 2024 Volvo XC40. If you're looking for an around town crossover that really is not going to go onto dirt roads or onto an off-road course, the single motor extended range vehicle is actually a really good option. You get just almost 300 miles of range, plus it's really fun to drive. Now, if you do want to go off the beaten path a little bit more, definitely consider the dual motor version for no other reason than to have all-wheel drive. Also, it has 400 horsepower, so there's lots of benefits to going to the dual motor version. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share videos. Make them for you. Hope you enjoy them.